This is Continuum Drag, a podcast where we watch sci-fi, fantasy, and everything in between. This week, Time Express, episodes 1 and 2.
Gin.
Gin? But you only picked 2 cards.
It isn't the number of cards you pick, darling, but how they fit your hand.
Pardon me, madam, but our guests have arrived.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast riding the time rails. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
We've done a bunch of, we've done a few different time travel-esque shows. It's always interesting how the different ways of interpreting things and how time travel is going to work. This show is funny because while I'm watching it, I'm like, sorry, what was the rule? Do you guys know what it is? And it seems like, did you feel it was like a little bit nebulous?
Here's what I want to say is often, maybe not often, occasionally when I ask you what's real, you'll give me a quote from the show you watched.
Yeah.
So I wrote down my best guess as to what your quote was going to be, and then you didn't do a quote. You
know what's funny is I do have a quote, but I actually forgot because you distracted me. But I'll tell you what my quote is.
I distracted you.
Yeah, you distracted me. Well, because you'll say something and then I forget. I forget that I have something written down. But I can tell you the quote I have.
Yeah, let's see if I got the right one.
Okay. Look, I'm not stupid. I know I'm attractive.
Ah, darn, I got the wrong one.
What'd you have?
I had get in, garbage bin.
That's actually better.
That one hit me and I was like, what is that? All right, we're covering a new series this week, Time Express from 1979. Yet another time-based science fiction adjacent Love Boat riff.
It's a little bit Love Boat, a little bit Fantasy Island, and a little bit Super Train.
How happy were you to be back on a Super Train-esque show?
I think the 70s, people must have been really enamored with trains, huh?
It feels to me, I really was just like, okay, Love Boat's obviously a hit around this time.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to find mode of conveyance to do an anthology show on. And now this is the second time someone's tried a train. I'm just like, stop trying a train. Trains don't make sense. Adding time travel didn't fix the problem.
You'd rather have some sort of Nightmare Cafe?
Hey, man, I would definitely prefer Nightmare Cafe. I'll tell you that right now. Did you, not to go into too much detail, obviously we've just started this. I'm sure you've never heard of this show before.
No.
Did you notice the creators of the show are?
No, who are they?
I just briefly had a peek. These people went on to create Charlie's Angels.
This was their first swing without their big swing.
I mean, they got a huge swing in, so you have to appreciate that.
I'll tell you what Charlie's Angels doesn't have. Vincent Price.
A wasted Vincent Price. We'll get into it.
I don't think he knows he's there.
Well, Time Express ran for 4 weeks, no more than that, from April 26th to May 17th, 1979. Jordan, the only thing I could really find of note in that kind of very short, like that's like a 4-week period, and that was that Margaret Thatcher was elected to premier.
I feel like this is the second time Margaret Thatcher's come up.
I mean, it probably has. We've actually watched things in this time period. While this show was on, we've watched 2 series and 1 TV movie in this same time period, in this 4 weeks.
I feel like Super Train was one of them.
Super Train is, in fact, on the air as Time Express comes out.
It wouldn't be The Martian Chronicles.
It was not, no.
Give me one more guess.
Okay.
I'm going to guess the movie was Search for the Gods.
No, I'm afraid not. The other series it was running was Season 2 of Project UFO.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And the TV movie that was on TV during this 4 weeks was The Ultimate Imposter.
I remember, yeah.
It's so funny. I had to look it up. I'm like, which one was The Ultimate Imposter again? A guy who gets computer tapes run into his brain so he can be anybody.
Weirdly, very similar to a couple other things, too. It's funny how the same sort of things happen. And like you're saying, you can just see when like something hits, something like Love Boat or Fantasy Island or something, they're like, we can do it. Guys, we got another one going. What about a train that maybe time travels?
Who's to say? Let's find out as we get into the IMDb summary for episode 1, Garbage Man / Doctor's Wife.
I love all the titles because I looked at them. They all have this sort of like, because there's 2 plots in each episode, but there's something very funny about the way they title them. Garbage Man, Doctor's Wife. I was like, okay.
By the amount of effort they put in the titles as they do the episodes. Edward Chernoff returns to Cleveland in 1969 to return money, bracket $2 million, end bracket, that he found. Dr. Mark Toland returns to search for his wife's brother, who he needs for a life-saving operation.
Okay, Luke, if you'll indulge me, can we talk a little bit about the time travel, how it works?
Oh, can we talk a little bit about the return of the pre-cap?
Oh, that's right. That's right. There is a pre-cap, yeah.
I love it when we find a show where it's just like, hey, let's show a little example of what's happening. Here's scenes from the show you're about to watch. It was like
a little
pre-caps.
Teaser. I love the idea. It's like you start, you're like, yeah, you know what? I think I will keep watching this.
Anyway, go ahead. Talk about what you wanted to talk about.
So here's what we're going to find. There's a couple things.
Okay.
So there's a train.
Yes.
And this train time travels. But it doesn't just time travel. It time travels specific to an individual. And in every episode, we're going to have two individuals. We're going back in...
Yes, the train only has room for 2 people on it.
It really does only have room for 2 people because you don't like see other people having adventures. They literally are 2 people keep showing up every episode on the train. So that's basically what happens is, as a person, you get a memo or a letter in the mail.
You get a ticket. You get a ticket in the mail.
A ticket, excuse me. And the ticket in the mail has a date. So here's my question, because it seemed like it was different in both episodes. When you get the ticket, like let's say you get a ticket, it says, whatever, September 1993. Would you know what that ticket is for? Because it seems like a couple of the people do, and the couple of people are like, I don't know what this is, but I'll get on the train.
Here's the thing. I mean, let's get into it, because the episode, after a very jazzy opening credits.
It's great opening credits.
The episode opens at Union Station in L.A., and 2 people show up to catch a train. They've received tickets in the mail. They go up to the ticket desk where one of the lead characters credited in the opening credits who appears to say 2 lines an episode. This guy's just like, he's a major character. He's one of the leads. He appears for about 30 seconds every episode.
To be fair, the other guy who, the guy who's like, I don't know what he's, a porter or something, he also only is like a main character. He also only has like 1 line.
Anyone who's a main character in the show is on screen for about 30 seconds an episode. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The 2 people show up and they're like, I got a ticket in the mail. It says a destination, like another city it's going to, and a different period of time. In both of these episodes, people have no questions. They have no questions. They're just like, can't wait to get on this time train.
I like that there's no time wasting, and no pun intended, that there's sort of like, all right, let's just do it. But it is weird that they don't have
I got this
even
ticket
a
in the
line
mail.
of dialogue.
It goes back to an important date in my past. Can I get on it?
The whole thing is weird that they don't question it, and I appreciate that.
It moves along.
It moves along, but you would think it would be 1 line of dialogue where someone's like, hey, this is weird, I'm confused, but they don't even bother.
Here's what I'd say. This is also the pilot episode, so this is your opportunity to give some exposition, and they're just like not interested. Anyway, what's happening is they show up, train ticket guys like, go to the track 13. It appears not to be functioning, but you get there, it'll be filled with mist and smoke, and time train will pull in. And in the pilot episode, we've got 2 people catching it, a doctor named Dr. Mark Toland and Jerry Stiller.
That's right. Who looks exactly as you imagine Jerry Stiller looking 30 years previously. Just like Jerry Stiller.
Right. He playing a character named Edward Chernoff. I'm only going to call him
Jerry Stiller.
Anyway, they get in. The train pulls in. As you said, a porter gets off, a guy named RJ, to help them on board.
Yeah.
We'll see him again for about 30 seconds an episode. He just helps them get on.
RJ's dead. He's a ghost. We should just say him and another guy who's running the train.
We don't know they're dead. Well, they do say they're dead.
They just say they're dead. They say they're dead. They say they dead. They say they're dead and they died about 100 years ago. And I think we find out in the next episode that the train derailed and they died. Because one of them, like, they just have a scene off in the middle of nowhere in the episode where the one guy's like, why don't we go back and try to redo history a little bit? And the guy's like, we can't. Anyways, back to Jerry Stiller.
It is very weird. In both episodes, Porter goes to see the guy who drives the train. They have a brief conversation with the same information. Yeah. It's like, we were on a train. It crashed. We died. Now we drive time train. I'm just like, why do we keep seeing the same 10 seconds with these 2 main characters of the show?
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. They also introduced us to the train's hosts, because they don't own the train. They don't operate the train. They're just like the host. I don't know what their job is
concierge.
Exactly. And it's Vincent Price playing Jason Winters and Jason Winters' wife, Maggie. And they are there to kind of be helpful.
It feels like, not that like Vincent Price was like the biggest get ever, but But it feels like they were like, we have him for a week, and he's going to do all his scenes. He's just going to sit down at this booth and do all these scenes. Because, like, he's so inconsequential. You could cut out pretty much all his scenes. There might be one line of exposition or something that kind of gets the plot going. But other than that, he's just there to be like, ooh, isn't that interesting? I'm Vincent Price.
Yeah, he's like 4 minutes of screen time. And
Yeah.
here's the thing. As we've said, they don't run the train. The train is run by a mysterious, quote, head of the line who knows how to choose people, knows how to send tickets to them to a very specific point in their past for them to, like, have a redo. So what? They just work for God? Is that what's happening here?
They sort of imply it. If it's not God, it's something.
It's the devil.
Like it's the devil. It's some sort of all-knowing being who wants, for whatever reason, for you to try something like a crossroads at your life, to try it again, because perhaps it didn't go the way it was supposed to.
Yeah. And once passengers are on the train, they're taken to their berth, which is so funny. I'm like, I don't know why they need a berth, but the berth is also stocked with, like, old clothes they had or photos of their loved ones, and they also have no questions about it.
There's two things we see in this. I was like, oh, what a weird choice for time travel. So, like, again, if you were time traveling 5 years, 10 years in the past, you're going to look exactly the same, but they have your old clothes so you can, like, seamlessly get in. But then my first thought was, like, we all age. You're not going to look the same as you did before. And they give no indication that the person looks younger at all. And then there's a scene later with the doctor where he goes way back in the past. He's like, oh, but won't they, like, recognize me? And they're like, no, it's different. You'll be in someone else's body.
Well, that's the thing. They don't say that exactly. That's the question, is, like, it doesn't make sense. It's like they're traveling back in time. It's just not a Back to the Future where apparently you are there. You appear to be inhabiting your old body.
Is that what it is? So why do you need the clothes then?
I don't know. And then the other thing is that when the doctor goes back, he's going to do something else in a different time where he's not involved. And so he says, and he asks, he's like, will I be younger as a result? Like, when I get off, will I be my young self? And they're like, no. Yeah. They do say you're going to someone else's past, which is theoretically his wife's past. We'll get to why that is later. But I don't know. But that's the thing. I was like, is this a quantum leap thing where he's going into someone else's body? Does not appear to be the case. He appears to just get off the train and walk around. He's not. He looks like himself. None of this, like, they put no thought into, like they don't care about the logistics of this. They're just like, who knows why? Sometimes you're younger in your own body. Sometimes you're just wandering around the past. Who cares?
Well, you make an interesting comparison because you mentioned Quantum Leap. As silly as kind of Quantum Leap is, like, I was a fun show. I liked it when I was a kid. They figured out a couple things, which is he goes back into the past. He's in someone else's body, and he has to kind of usually figure out what it is that he's supposed to be doing and how he's supposed to do it. But to fix that, they had his partner, right? The guy who was like the cigar chomping sort of guy who had, like, the controller that would go, oh, it's 1983 and you're this guy. And that sort of helped, but the show doesn't have that. So it's like the person's like, I got a weird ticket. Okay, now I'm on the train. Okay, these people are telling me to put on these clothing. Now I'm going to redo this thing. And you're like, but why? Like, the Jerry Stiller plot kind of makes sense.
Yeah, you would assume he just is stepping into his old body, basically. His consciousness is stepping into his old body. That's what it feels like.
It works for his character because, as we're going to learn, his plot line is, at one point in life, he found
let's
he was
get
a
into it. Let's move on. Let's move on then. Let's get into it because there's a whole bunch to talk about around that. It's like, so that's what's happening. Time travel makes no sense. They could have also just not mentioned it and we wouldn't have questioned it, but they decided to mention it for no apparent reason. Anyway, what happens after this is once they're settled in their train berth, this is the opening of the show. Then Vincent Price and his wife sit down at a table, take out a manila envelope that contains the biographies of their passengers and their specific regrets, and then one at a time, they read the manila envelope. And the manila envelope is then dramatized, and the first one we see dramatized is the past of Jerry Stiller, in which, in Cleveland on April 5th, 1969, he found $2 million in a garbage bag while he was a trash collector.
And the point being is, for him, it changed his life. He was able to obviously financially benefit from this.
He's now a mogul who runs big industry somehow.
Yeah, he's used this to leapfrog into a different life.
But he was a honest man, so when he found the money, he initially put it in the basement, and he wasn't going to spend it until his wife found it and bought all these appliances with the money. And he's like, well, I guess we're committed to keeping this money. But he's always felt bad that he didn't try to return it to someone.
See, that's where I got confused, because I thought when we first saw it, we were seeing their first attempt at redoing history. But what
No,
we're
no,
seeing
this
is
is
what
this
actually
is Vincent
happened.
Price reading a manila envelope to us, the audience.
Yeah, so that's what I got confused because I was like, oh, wouldn't he know what to do? But for some reason, they've decided that's the narrative device they want to use. I don't know why. It's weird.
And then Vincent Price takes out the second biography for Dr. Toland, in which he reads about his storybook marriage, where he does comical things like eat cans of cat food when he tries to cook. But one day his wife collapsed, and they found out she had leukemia of the bone cells.
Yeah.
And to survive, she'll need a bone marrow transplant from a blood relative. But oopsie, her parents never told her she was adopted.
Yeah. Not good.
And they do know, though, that she had a brother at the orphanage they got her from, except that orphanage burnt down and all the records were lost. So that's his damage, I guess. There's no way to save his wife.
They didn't mention it that his wife is not dead in the future, right? She hasn't died.
No. She's still in the hospital. Like, this just happened.
Yeah. But don't you think it would be... Isn't it more interesting if, like, the wife had died and he has a chance to save her?
Theoretically, but then he has to, like, do 2 time travels, which they don't want to do.
Okay, that's fair.
Because I guess you're only allowed a single time travel from the head of the line.
That's right.
Anyway, this is supposed to set everyone's stakes. Is that they're just like, you've now just heard / watched the biographies of these 2 characters you've just met and what their problem is. Like, here's what happened to them in the past. Here's why it's a problem. Now let's get back to the show in which we, like, have everyone set that. And they're like, all right, first stop, the train's pulling into Cleveland. They do a little montage of Cleveland in 1969. Mm-hmm. Jerry Stiller gets off to the exact moment. He appears in his body the exact moment he found the money. And he just goes and he calls it into the police. He's just like, hey, I found money. And then his wife's a little upset he didn't keep it. And then we just have, like, they cut and just like, well, 90 days have passed and no one claimed it, so it's your money now. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
So he still gets the money in this time period, right. except now he has a lot of annoying relatives who want a piece of it, including his local bartender, who, can you believe this, Jordan? The bartender expects him to pay for his drinks now?
Yeah. He's like, just because I have $2 million, you want me to pay for this beer?
Anyway, after he gets the money after those 90 days when it's not claimed, the mob shows up. They've sent an enforcer to get the cash from Jerry Stiller, and they do a series of comical scenes where Jerry Stiller goes to withdraw the money from the bank teller, who initially, he's like, here's $2 million deposit in my account. He's like, no, I'd like to withdraw that $2 million. And they just keep going back to this bank teller. He's like, you're causing inconveniences for me.
Yeah, a series of events keeps happening where he keeps trying to do the right thing, and he keeps
having to take money in and out of his bank.
Yeah, in and out of the bank over and over. So they do that scene multiple times.
And he's more inconvenienced every time.
Yeah.
He gets the money. He gives it to the enforcer in the car that is waiting outside the bank. And as they're driving away, the enforcer and the mob's just like, by the way, Jerry Stiller, I've decided to double cross the mob and keep the money for myself. And Jerry Stiller's like, oh no. And then a car appears behind them. The mob has found out about in the 4 seconds since he decided to double cross them, the mob's behind them, shooting at them. Yeah. And just before the car goes off a cliff, Jerry Stiller grabs the bag of money, rolls out of the car, and he still has the $2 million, so he goes back to the bank and deposits it.
So he wins in the end.
Does he, Jordan? Because he goes home after depositing the money. The mob's still waiting at his house because they still want their money back, and they've taken his wife hostage.
That's right. Is this when he plans to have a meeting at the bar?
Yeah, so he goes back. He's like, meet me at the bar. I'll go back to the bank, take the money out again. He goes to the bar, gives the money to the mob, and the mob's like, all right, thank you. Now we've got to kill you because you had our money or something. We're going to kill you and your wife. But he's like, not so fast. I called my buddies from work, and they all have pipes. Yeah. And they're like, you got us this time, Jerry Stiller. You've defeated the mob. We'll be leaving with our money now. But while they were distracted, his wife grabs a different garbage bag full of garbage this time and gives that to them. So now Jerry Stiller still has the $2 million, and they cut back to the train, and he says, like, well, I guess that money was always meant for you. I was like, what? No, the mob is just going to find a bag of garbage when they step outside, and they're going to come back and get their money. What do you mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, none of this makes any sense.
It's funny, because I think what they were trying to do was show he had this lifelong guilt because he felt he didn't do the right thing.
Yes.
So this time, it's like, every time he tries to do the right thing, it seems like he gives
the money keeps
away.
coming back to him.
It keeps coming back to him. So it's like, that was it. It was always meant to be his, and it's done through a humorous situation. It's just that it's so weird how it plays out. And it's like, it's done for laughs.
The end doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense. So like, what was the point of that? Like,
Well,
it's funny.
It's just like the mob wants their money back. Great. Try to give it to one guy. The guy tries to steal it. Jerry Stiller ends up with the money. Fine. Mob comes back. So like, we still don't have our money back. Give us that money, Jerry Stiller. Okay, here you go. They leave again, but this time someone swap-a-rooed the bag with them, and now they have a bag of garbage. Yeah. And they're like, and that's solved. And I'm like, no, the mob's just going to open a bag of garbage and come back.
No, they're not.
But not this time. Like that time it's just like, cut to the train. It's like, you did it, Jerry Stiller. You got to keep the money. It's just like, I guess I did. I'm like, what just happened in this plot?
And I'll say something. I like this plot better than I like the other plot.
Yeah, because you got Jerry Stiller at least.
Yeah. Oh, but I'll just say this. Spoiler. There's a very special guest star in this one.
Oh, very exciting. I'm not sure I know who it is, so we'll see what happens. Oh, I do know who it is. Never mind.
You know who it is.
I know who it is. Anyway, so we watch this entire plot. He gets back on the time train. It's like, all right, time for the time express's next stop. St. Louis, 1967. Another quick montage of St. Louis. Dr. Holland goes right to the orphanage that burnt down in 1967 to get his wife's adoption records. He's like, nuns, I need my adoption records. I've brought this court order. She's like, this court order says it's from the future. And he's like, yeah, does that not work in the past? She's like, no, it does not work in the past.
I love that. That was great. But the nun's like, this is so clearly not authentic. He's like, can't you like work on faith? She's like, no, that's not how it works at all. He's like, oh.
Break
anyway.
all the privacy laws and just give it to me. He's like, I got this court order from the future. Why did he even bring that with him? What did he think that was going to accomplish?
He thought that great line. Don't you have faith?
Anyway, the nun leaves, and then another nun is just like, oh, hey, I do believe in miracles, actually, so I'll break all privacy rules and give you the information you want. And that's it. His problem solved.
It worked out. So he finds out who the brother is now.
He got the name of the brother. He gets back on the Time Express, and Vincent Price is like, hey, FYI, the head of the line gave me authorization to make an extra stop on our way back to the New York and present. So we'll go to Phoenix, Arizona in the present so you can drop by and see this brother. Which, honestly, why do this? Why not just have the brother in New York? Like, why this extra stop?
It's one of the weird things with the train because I think they want to show it's a train. It's got this momentum. It's moving. It makes stops. But you're like, for a TV show, can't just getting on the train be magical enough and be like this sort of, Christmas Carol thing where now you're on the train and you get to go to different parts of your past to try to change things. Why do we have to keep making stops?
I don't know. Anyway, they're just like, Headline authorizes us to stop in Phoenix so you can go see this brother she's never met. He walks into a room, and they show a montage of Phoenix. He walks into a random office. A 31-year-old John Delancey is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insane to see. A young John Delancey waiting in the room. And he's just like, my wife needs a bone marrow transplant. She's your long-lost sister from the orphanage. And John Delancey's like, bro, I got my own family to take care of. No, thank you.
And not only that, right? While he's saying, hey, he's like, that's great. I have a sister, but I've got my own family. His wife comes in, is like, hey, we're having a baby. This is very important. He's like, see, I got my own things going on. So, and I was like,
is that what happened?
Yeah, his wife came in and said, we're having a baby right now. And he's basically like, I can't deal with your bone marrow because I got a baby now. And my health is the most important thing. He says that he's worried about the surgery. And if he has the surgery, he's worried that he might die. And now to add to that, he's a dad now. So forget it.
I think I remember him saying that his wife was pregnant. I think that was his secretary walking in to ask if what was going on.
Oh, really? I thought that was his wife.
Maybe I'm misremembering that scene. I do love the idea that he's at work and his wife walks in.
That's why I thought it was so weird. His wife just showed up to be like, hey, by the way, you're a dad. He's like, see?
Doesn't matter. He heads back to the Time Express. It takes Jerry Stiller and the doctor home. We then get a quick scene with Jerry Stiller bumping into his wife as she's like, how was your trip? And he's like, great. Let's make a donation to some random children's hospital. I was like, what does that have to do with his character or his story? Why is he making a donation to a children's hospital?
Because he's changed as a person in this Scrooge story.
But here's the thing,
too. As a person.
Here's the thing, too. He's like, you know that one we gave $500 to? Let's give them $5,000. I'm just like, so he's slightly more generous?
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want to spend all the money.
It doesn't make. I was just like, what does a children's hospital have to do with? Like, shouldn't it be to the garbage collectors union retirement fund? Like, it has nothing to do with his story.
It should be to the Teamsters to smooth things over.
Yeah. Those mob guys are probably still pretty mad at me. Anyway, whatever. That wraps up Jerry's storyline. Then the doctor goes back to the hospital to see his wife who's dying in the hospital. He's just like, sorry, babe, couldn't save your life. And there's a knock at the door, and John Delancey walks in, and he's changed his mind.
Yeah.
But Jordan, this man just saw this guy in St. Louis or Phoenix, Arizona, minutes ago, and he took a time train back to LA. How did John Delancey get there in that space of time?
You know, it's a very good point. I didn't even think of that, and I'm starting to think the show doesn't make a lot of sense.
This show is out of control, lazy. And so she's saved. John Delancey showed up. Cut back to Vincent Price playing gin with his wife on the train.
Yeah.
And he accuses her of cheating with the head of the line to win at gin. And then credits.
What I like is Vincent Price at the end. He's like, well, another job well done. And I was like, you guys didn't do anything. The most they did was they gave Jerry Stiller some old clothing. That's the most they did. The rest of the time they just played like Pinochle.
Yeah. What it is Vincent Price looks at the camera and says, may I go home now, please?
That's right. That's exactly right.
And that's the pilot episode of the show. It was just like...
It's bonkos.
I mean, it's exactly what the show is. Like, they're just like, here's an average episode of the show, which is just like, you're just like, this? I can see why you ran for 4 weeks.
It feels like, not that it would have saved the show, but it feels like the engine was designed for, a big star. Like, whoever the big star in 1979, it's Alan Alda or whoever's on, But they don't have that. So I'm watching these, like, guest stars who are, like, not really anything in these non-plots. It's like, what a weird show. Like,
was Jerry Stiller a get, maybe?
Maybe a little bit of one.
I don't know. Yeah, it's part of the problem with these like ones where it's like clearly the guest star is the big draw, and I don't know who anyone is on the show, so it's a little bit more difficult for me.
I don't think any of these people are big gets, though, to be honest.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one, which maybe has a big get. Here's the IMDb summary for episode 2, The Copywriter / The Figure Skater.
Jason, couldn't we do...
No, Maggie, we never do. You know the rules. Our passengers have to take what comes. Unless, of course, the head of the line decides otherwise.
2 years ago, a shy, timid, awkward, and clumsy man who works for an ad agency who went to Paris for a shoot meets the beautiful model and is smitten with her. And I do an edit here because there's so much stuff. And a young skater who 3 years ago, while competing in Montreal, meets another skater, and their connection is obvious. And this very heavily truncated summary was courtesy of RCS 0411, another previous contributor to our IMDb summaries.
These episodes are so bizarre. It's hard to describe it any other way. It's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of these. Like the moral at the end
there.
Yeah, it's like, but I'm like, is there a moral? Am I supposed to feel like
no?
At no point in the show do I really care what the end result's going to be, which is not a great place to start from a TV show.
There's not much. Like they learn very little. They maybe get a second chance at... This one is very much about falling in love and getting a second chance at love. But we'll get into it. Let's get into it.
Okay.
The love is so meaningless that it is kind of hard to root for. Once again, we start with two people. They go to Union Station. They've got 2 train tickets to the past. They have very few questions about where they came from or how they got these tickets or how time travel works. One is an ad writer named Sam Loring, I believe, and he's headed to Paris 1 year ago. And the time travel, they go back max 5 to 10 years, max 5. This guy's going back 1 year.
That was another thing. It's weird. It's like, again, I understand like the point of crossroads in your life, but it's like, is it that much of a crossroads? It's like a year ago, a date didn't go the way you wanted. I'm like, I don't know. That's what the episode's going to be.
And then the other person is a figure skater named Jill Martin. She's headed back to Montreal 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And here I was just like, okay, well, they have all these big French sets, and they're like, let's just like set one in Paris and one in Montreal. Then it like seems international, but we can still use the same sets. No, it doesn't matter. They could have been set anywhere.
Yeah. Agreed.
Largely, it's the same opening. Train pulls in. RJ puts them on board. The engineer wishes they could go back to 1886 and not die. It's like the same opening as the last episode. Like the same things happen. And then Vincent Price and his wife sit down to read the biographies of their 2 passengers. First one being Sam, who is basically just Woody Allen. This character is just Woody Allen.
He's bad with women, but he's supposed to be charming.
He's neurotic. He's nervous.
Neurotic. And yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, he goes to Paris for work, even though he hates traveling and meeting strangers. But while he's in Paris for this photo shoot because he's an ad writer, he meets Morgan Fairchild. I guess this might be the get of the episode.
Yeah.
And she's a model for the ad campaign, and she's very much the proto-manic pixie dream girl. She likes him for no apparent reason, and she's just like, oh, I'm so quirky and beautiful.
Yeah, it's funny because you go through a series of events of like things not going well. Like he spills stuff on her.
No, you don't even. No. In this biography, they meet in his office in Paris. They immediately fall in love, arrange to go on a date that night, and then he can't remember the address of the date.
No, I know. My point was, even through the whole episode, she's written like impossibly perfect in this sort of. She's unflappable. She reacts the right way to everything.
I see.
Interesting. She's funny. It's like, and yes, it's like it's just this weird. Well, why is she interested in this guy? And like you're saying, this first instance, she immediately likes him like right away. But there's like, why? There's no indication why.
They are essentially in love the moment they meet, and his whole problem is he couldn't find the address to go on their first date 1 year ago.
Yeah,
and then he never tried again. He just went home.
You must be able to find her information. You just like worked with her.
You hired
it's
her.
Not that hard.
Your company hired her. Just call her. You had a whole year. Like, so he's catching a train back so he can make it to the date. Like, the stakes of this are so awful. Anyway, not much of a problem. We move on to passenger number 2, Jill. Yeah. She's a figure skater. She went to Montreal and won a competition there 2 years ago. But she also met this French figure skater who, arguably, in this flashback, we see she spent 30 minutes maximum with. She met him after a skate. She met him another time after a skate. And in that period of time, they also fell in love. Yeah. In 30 minutes of interaction, they're in love.
He's very charming.
Completely in love. And they make a rendezvous to get together to confirm their love and run away together. But before she can get to there, his coach drops by and she's just like, hey, listen, Jill, I've been training this guy for years. I've been paying for his lifestyle, and I've also been fucking him. So he's mine. And the implication is that Jill finds out that her guy she's in love with has had a sexual relationship with someone else, so she ghosts him. Yeah. Like, that's it.
The manager doesn't say, we are still in a relationship. She basically said, we were in a relationship, just so you know. She's like, I'm just telling you that it was not just professional. And she's just like, I can't handle that. I'm sorry, I'm out.
I'm out. So she goes to him, and then they cut back to Vincent Price. He's like, and then he died the next day.
Well, he gets hit by a car.
Well, we don't even know that. All it says is, like, we cut back after that interaction, and then Vincent Price just announces, like, and then the guy died the next day. I was just like, okay, well, that seems like a bigger problem.
Here's the point, though, and this is going to ruin something. We're going to find out he doesn't die at the end of the episode. Why did Vincent Price say he died?
Well, he must have died in a different timeline.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you think that? Because I was like, is his information in the middle envelope just wrong?
I mean, it's mostly to set up a piece of stakes for the rest of the episode, and we'll get into it. But like, it was just like, and they tag it on in a way, I guess, to explain why she could never go back and get him. But it does feel like when he goes back in time, she's gonna have to like stop him from dying. We'll see if that happens. But anyway, we finished with the bios. We're ready to start the episode. Jordan, it is 27 minutes into a 49-minute episode. It is more than halfway through the episode. The episode has not started.
I know. It's crazy.
Time Express pulls into Paris, 1978. Just like last episode, they're going to do an entire storyline. They're not going to intercut these. We're not going to have double storylines happening. We have to watch one person's entire story before we get to the second story.
Why do you think they chose to do that? It's very weird, right?
It feels just like part of the laziness of this show. Sam arrives in Paris. He goes right to his date. He knows exactly the address now because he had a year to look it up. Yeah. He gets there. He's done a year's worth of preparation for this date and this research for this date. It kind of impresses her. It also kind of weirds her out that he knows everything about her now. Yeah, he's sort of like, he lists things like it's too much. He's like, you were born here and you like this thing and you did this thing. And it's like, it has that creepy thing like you've looked someone up online and you've just got too much information. But again, because she's like perfect, she's like, that's creepy, but I still like you. I'm still into it. I'm going to give the show one piece of credit here in that in this space of time where he's like unloading all the stuff on her, he's like really has all this information, he's really worshiping her. They do give Morgan Fairchild a very short monologue here where she makes a point about how she's not an object. He can't like look at her in this way where she's just a thing to acquire with a story and a back history, that she's like a person. It's an okay monologue that I think like is maybe the best piece of writing in the show. Does the rest of the episode reflect that? Absolutely not. But I did appreciate that like at some point she stops him. She's like, what you're doing is weird and it puts me on a pedestal, and that's not cool.
But then she's like, anyways, back to our date.
Back to our date. And that date essentially breaks down as like, they're going to go to a restaurant, but he spills champagne on her because he's a klutz, and they got to go back to her apartment so they can change clothes. And then maybe a day passes. Maybe it's in the same 30 minutes. It's hard to say. They go for a tandem bike ride on a bike, but he's such a klutz, he drives them into a pond, so they're wet again.
I know it's supposed to be that he's so in his head, and I think you're very correct in saying like it's his Woody Allen-esque neuroses. But even in this scenario where like he's done something where he spilled something on or whatever, she immediately has a good reaction. So
yeah,
it's
she's
weird
not
that
upset.
It's weird. He's like, I ruined it. She's like, no, you didn't. And then he's like, but it's like he's not listening. And I don't know if that's supposed to be a character thing or it's just a weird way to keep the plot going. I'm like, but you didn't blow anything because the reaction wasn't bad.
Well, that's the thing is like they do this, the champagne spill, go change clothes. He is apologizing profusely. She's like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Who cares? They go ride the tandem bike. They again get wet one more time. They come back. She's wet again. He's just like, I'm so sorry. Let me dry you up. And she's just like, dude, just chill out. It's not a big deal. And he's just like, I've ruined everything. He storms off.
Yeah.
He gets back on the time train. He's just like, never mind. I was like, what? So that's the end. It's the end of his time travel back. He gets her wet twice and gives up.
Yeah.
Now we do the other one. They take the next stop. They go to Montreal, 1977. Get a beautiful montage of Montreal with the national anthem of Canada playing.
That's right. Yep.
Jill, this time, she keeps the rendezvous with her French skater lover, and she shows up and she's just like, hey, I want to run away with you. She's like, I've grown up a lot since the last time we talked, and now I'm cool with your previous sexual relationship. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe that's the problem. They meet at this thing. She says, I'm cool with your sexual relationship. Let's go. They get in a car. They drive to a ring shop. He gets out of the car, goes in, buys an engagement ring, walks out of the shop, gets hit by a car.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
He gets hit. They go to the hospital. The manager comes out.
His coach, his coach comes out.
His coach, the one who had a relationship with him, and they talk a little bit. And she's like, guess what? He's dead.
He died.
And so she puts on the ring.
She's like, here's the ring he would have wanted you to have. And she's like, oh my God, I almost had love, but he died. And I was just like, that's how that's going to transpire? She gets back on the train. They go back to the present. And then on the train, Vincent Price's wife's just like, pretty sad ending this week, huh? I wish it were a happier ending. And Vincent Price is like, well, I have a feeling the head of the line has bigger plans for those two.
Yeah.
Back in LA, Jill goes back to skating on the same rink she was at Montreal. And while she's doing that, the coach from 2 years ago drops by and she's like, hey, FYI, 2 years ago when I said he was dead, I lied. He just can't walk now. He just didn't want you to know because he was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
So she goes to the hospital and she's just like, hey, I'm cool with you not walking and maybe I can help you learn to walk again. They're like, all right, let's be in love. Great.
It also made me think, if I was in that situation and someone who I was in love with and they were like, the person has died and you're the person who's like making this up, you're really hoping they don't have any follow-up questions. They're not like, can I go see them? Can I, say something?
I'd like to come to the funeral.
I like to go to the funeral. Anything. And they're just like, I know this lady. She's not going to say anything. She's just going to put that ring on and go off and definitely not get on a time train.
This championship figure skater gives up so easily. I don't have to worry about a single thing.
Exactly.
Well, the other thing, too, is like the guy told the coach to lie to her. So also, like 2 years ago, you find out that the guy who you liked 2 years ago lied to you also because he was so embarrassed. It's so weird. 2 years later, still in the hospital.
Yeah. It's a bad injury.
It can't be good. She's like, I'm going to fix you. I'm like, I don't know, man. He's been in this hospital for 2 years. I think it's a problem.
I thought he's not getting better.
Anyway.
I don't think he has legs.
It ends good because they're in love again. Cut to Sam. He's back 1 year later, just where he was. He just goes back to work. He's just like, time to get back to work. Morgan Fairchild just walks into his office and she's just like, hey, I love you. Why don't we try this relationship again? And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
What? So if he had not caught the time train, would that same thing not just have happened? Did him getting her wet twice instead of missing the date make that that big a difference?
You made a very good point. I agree with you. His journey didn't make any sense.
Anyway, they cut back to the train, and somehow all of this information has been related back to the train because Maggie, the wife, is just like, I am very satisfied by that conclusion. The end.
It wasn't unhappy. That's why.
This show is so bad. In this episode in particular, when they go back in time, after 27 minutes of setup, they go back in time. We spend arguably 4 minutes in the past with these people, like 4 minutes. Date, spill. I give up. Go home. Go meet the lover at the skating rink. Let's do it. 30 seconds. 30 seconds later, hit by a car. 30 seconds later, all right, I guess he's dead. I'm going home.
It is weird to have decided you want to show, whatever, you have some sort of plot device that enables you to go back in time and redo something in your life. Great. But it's almost like they don't want to focus on that, which is weird. It's like, but that's the point of the show. You would think it would be you go back and you do a series of events to get the result you wanted. And maybe in the end, it is good. Or maybe you find out in the end, oh no,
it can't happen or something.
It can't happen, or it was better the way it was, or whatever. That's the vehicle you've built. Again, no pun intended there, but they're like, nah, we'd rather have people read a manila envelope.
The meat of the episode should be the time travel, but even in the first episode with the doctor who's like, I got to go back. I got to find this brother who's at an orphanage to get the bone marrow. When he goes back in time, his scenes are go to orphanage, ask for orphanage paperwork, get orphanage paperwork, back on train. He's back in time for, in showtime, 45 minutes. In like the time we're watching it, that scene takes place in 2 minutes, and then he's back on the train, and then they're back to the present.
Yeah, I know.
It's insane. It's insane. The time train is focused on helping people with problems in the past that they can solve in about 20 seconds if they get there in time. It's like, oh man, I lost my bus pass this one time in 1982 when I was supposed to catch a bus, and I ended up failing an exam. So if I could just get back and pick up that bus pass, everything will be fine. They're like, great. We'll take you back and get that bus pass.
You're right, because even in this episode, this second episode, where it's all about missed chances or missed opportunities for love, but is it? Is that the story they're telling? Because you're right, in the second plot, none of it matters. And in the first one, is he a dude you want to be with? The guy who lied to you for 2 years? And to what effect? Like, it's very, very odd.
What I do like, though, is if in the original timeline he died, it wouldn't have been getting hit by a car outside of a ring shop buying a ring, because they never met up to do that. So he just died in a very different way.
What would be funny is no matter what she does, he always gets killed in some way. It's like that Final Destination sort of thing.
Honestly, I would have liked that. It would have been better if it just like he goes back, she agrees to love him, he's gonna get engaged, but he still dies, and at least she took a shot at love. Like they had that moment together. Like that would have at least been like a bittersweet thing. But in this one, it's like, oh yeah, also he didn't die. He's fine. Don't worry about it.
The important thing is he's still in that hospital.
All right, Jordan, let's get to rating these. Okay. What did you think of Garbage Man / Doctor's Wife?
Look, this is not good. We know this is not a good show. But there was something kind of charming about how ludicrous this was, at least for one episode. And I always find that, like, you go watch one episode of these not very good TV shows, you're like, that was all right. Once you start getting to the second, third, fourth episode, you're like, this is actually now irritating me. So just on its one episode, by itself when I watched it, I'll give it a 5.5.
5.5. Yeah. I'm going to lean a little bit up. I'm going to go to 6, but mostly just because I enjoyed watching Jerry Stiller for half the episode, seeing Vincent Price a little bit. It's dumb. It's very dumb.
Oh, no, it's dumb. I agree with you.
But it's kind of fast overall. It doesn't make, like, nothing makes any sense. None of the, like, actions they take equate to anything. But whatever, I'll give it a 6 because I was like, fine, Jerry Stiller. Copywriter / figure skater.
This one, I can't forgive it at all. 2 out of 10. It's really bad.
I agree. Really bad. I agree. I'm giving it 2 out of 10 too because nothing they did mattered.
Yeah.
Things happened. It took us more than half the episode to go through the biographies of these characters.
I like to say there was a huge drop-off between the first and second episode, but I think you said it too. I don't know if it's just Jerry Stiller, but there's something kind of charming.
Don't forget John
first
Delancey.
Episode. That's right, young John Delancey. There's something kind of charming about the first episode that is just entirely devoid in the second episode. I was just like, I hate this. I can't imagine that they even could get 4 episodes out of this. Like, they've got 4 episodes. There's no way. They didn't have enough material for 2 episodes.
Dude, they shot those first 4. The first one aired, and they're like, stop. And right now, stop. And, like, that's why it lasted 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Although I did hear it ended up getting syndicated, which blows my mind. Anyway, if you are the head of the line and you want to send us a ticket on the Time Express, you can email us at continuumdrag@gmail.com to send us that e-ticket on the Time Express to Jordan's biggest regret. I think it was that prom you went to with that lady.
Yeah, I don't know if that's my biggest regret, but thank you.
That's the biggest one that the Time Express can work with.
That's right.
It will work out. It'll end up the same way your life is currently. Nothing will actually
It should be how my washing machine just broke twice in the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, can I just go back 2 weeks and just make sure that the water's off so it doesn't happen twice?
They'll be like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it'll only break once this time now.
That's right. Once is fine.
And on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and TikTok, we'll have clips from this show, which aren't many. It is not a very evocative show, even in its time travel elements. Like, we didn't talk about it. It's a model train driving through mist. Yeah. It's not exciting to look at.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? Remember we watched that show where they took time stairs?
Yeah, time stairs was better.
That was better.
Walking up a set of stairs to travel through time was better than time train.
I know.
Crazy. It's crazy how even the time travel element is so boring on this show. Anyway, you can find that on our social media at Continuum Drags, the handle there. But that wraps up for the show. So, listener, thank you for joining us. And Jordan, see you on the next one.
See you then.
Can't get enough Continuum Drag? Commission a bonus episode for charity.
Want us to watch an episode we missed after using the escape pod or during a best of run? No problem.
Is there an episode of a series we've never watched or a TV movie you want us to cover? You got it.
Wish we'd comment on your favorite movie, content, or other weird media? Sure, why not?
All you have to do is make a donation to one of the charities selected by past guests on our website.
We suggest a donation of $50 per television hour of content we're watching, but everyone's means are different, so give what you can.
Get all the details about bonus episodes for charity on our website, continuumdrag.podbean.com, or follow the links in our social media profiles.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Ontario, Canada, and Seoul, South Korea. Theme music by James Rick Seidler. Produced by Jordan Dullock and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Hughes.